Hello everyone, my name is Droogie Forever, and today I thought we'd do something just a little bit different. We're not going to play a game, we are going to read the prequel story for Worse Than Death. Worse Than Death is the new Benjamin Rivers game. Benjamin Rivers made Home, a unique horror adventure, and Alone with You, two of my favorite games of all time. He's my favorite indie developer, and Worse Than Death looks very cool. It's a horror game. It's 2D. It looks really neat. It's got stealth mechanics and everything. But anyway, he wrote this prequel story that he's got up on Discord, and you can find this on the Worse Than Death Discord. And he basically puts a couple chapters up, and then after like 6 chapters, we all make a decision, and we all get to vote on what happens next. And so we all vote, and then the next few chapters go up, and then we vote again. So far, I don't know exactly how much of it is done, but it's like 12 chapters so far. So what I thought we would do is read the first part of this story to get you guys excited for Worse Than Death. So basically, this is the prequel to Worse Than Death. I hope you guys enjoy my my horrible narration skills. All right, so you can see this picture. We're at a bar. We've got a beer sign, lots of liquid on the floor. It's a Saturday night like any other. The bar is full of people, stuffed into booths or perched on stools, sharing the weekly stories of their lives. The cozy room carries a heavy scent of old beer, leather seats, and faint cigarette smoke, through which the jukebox pumps the same old collection of country music in low, far-off tones. You're focused on swabbing the floor with a dry mop. For early March, there's still an awful lot of snow on the ground outside, and your customers have been dragging in bits of slush and drops of water all night. As you clean, a new quartet of slush-covered boots pushes through the well-worn front door and into the warmth, cutting the vibe of the room momentarily with a blast of chill air. "G'day, Sam," one of them says. "Evening, Trevor," you reply, returning to your mop. You hope that your voice doesn't betray that you don't like Trevor that much, nor his wife, really, even though you can't say why, just a feeling. "Eileen," you add, almost as punctuation. "Full house tonight, huh?" Eileen looks around, pretending to be impressed, but you know she's just looking to see if her favorite table is empty. "I'm afraid the booths are all taken," you say, but I think Jenny just cleared a high top by the bar. Trevor and Eileen smile at you and push on past, their boots leaving dirt in your newly mopped floor. You look up to make sure Jenny's not overwhelmed at the bar. She's got it under control, as usual, so you allow yourself a few more minutes to mop and think. Later in the evening, the crowd is thinned somewhat, but the noise in the bar hasn't decreased a bit. The rowdier men who do their weekly partying between double shifts at the sawmill are in fine form tonight, one-upping each other with filthy jokes and bragging about vehicles they'll own someday. You're back behind the bar, and as you pour a draught beer for a new customer, you survey the room. Bruce Bay isn't really a trouble kind of town, but as in many remote places, alcohol is a regular vice, and everybody drives. You scan the loudest booths to make sure no one's trying to leave who shouldn't. As expected, Jack's booming voice cuts through much of the din, almost drowning out the jukebox. Even when he isn't drinking, which seems rarer and rarer these days, he's impossible to ignore. He and his work buddies have switched from dirty jokes to swapping fishing stories from summers past and trying to impress each other. You know damn well Jack can't fish for shit, and his injured leg makes it difficult for him to navigate a boat, but you also know the other men at Jack's table aren't going to call him on it. There's a hierarchy there, and for whatever reason, Jack is top dog. Your survey is broken by a latecomer thumping the front door open with one hand, and you look up instinctively. A woman walks in, her young, friendly features haloed by a scruffy hooded winter jacket. You recognize her instantly and smile, not even realizing it. "Carol," you say, moving down the bar closer to the door to greet her. There's Carol. "What's new, Sam? How's Diane?" she replies, sweeping the room with narrowed eyes before settling onto a stool in front of you. She's good. She's good. Business is slow for her, even for the off season, but she took a side job plowing roads for a while. I thought I saw her truck the other day when we got that crazy snowstorm, Carol says, looking thoughtful. I hope the spring is better for her. She did such a good job fixing up that motel. You smile at Carol's kindness, and as she speaks, you catch yourself automatically moving to make a drink and stop. Oh, usual tonight? Carol points at you, her hand a cartoon gun. You got it, she says, smiling. As you mix her drink, you notice Carol surveying the room again, almost like you had. Despite her easy demeanor, she seems a little on edge. Rye and ginger, you pronounce. Carol thanks you and takes a healthy gulp. As she puts her glass down, her mood seems to darken somewhat, though she doesn't say anything. You lean in a bit closer to Carol, pretending to wipe the counter. Everything okay? You ask. She's surprised at your perception. Oh, she begins, then stops herself. There's no point trying to lie to you, she admits, embarrassed. Carol makes sure no one's listening, and she starts again. I think I'm just stressed about the reunion. You'd think 10 years away from high school would make getting reacquainted with people kind of exciting, I guess. You know, a fresh start. You pretend to wipe a different spot on the table, glancing around quickly to make sure nobody needs anything. When your eyes settle back on Carol, she continues, but, well, she can't seem to make herself say what she wants to say, but as with many conversations you've had over the years, you let her take the lead and wait as she works it out for herself. After a moment, she continues, I didn't ever say this to anyone, but when Grace was alive, I always kind of jealous of her. I think we missed a word there. I was always kind of jealous of her. I always kind of jealous. Yeah, I think we missed a word there. You nod in grim understanding without judgment. Carol takes another drink from her rye and ginger. This sounds awful, but since the accident, it's like everything is different, but nothing has changed. Even now, all I hear about is Grace, Grace, Grace. Is that awful? Do you know what I mean? No, it's not awful, you reply, and yes, I do, you say, frowning as you glance up towards Jack's increasingly rowdy table. His voice now splits entire through the noise of the bar, like a saw in a forest. Carol follows your gaze and immediately turns angry. I almost think he did it on purpose, Jack croaks, clearly over the edge now. He was so much of a wuss, he probably realized he proposed to the hottest girl in town and didn't know what to do. There he is. Jack's entourage continues to laugh and go to mourn, but between their leaders' drunken declarations, you notice them exchanging conflicted looks with each other. Ah, well, screw it, Jack concludes, swigging the last of his beer and slamming the glass down on the table, putting a period on whatever statement it is that he's trying to make. Before she met that asshole, Jack slurs, Grace would come with me to that water tower. Did you know that? The other men at the table look increasingly uncomfortable, like a line has been crossed. We'd get up to all sorts of no good, he chortles, a real pig now. Come on, Jack, one of his friends implores. Jack stumbles badly as he tries to exit the booth. No, I mean it. Just go fucking look if you don't believe me. All sorts of no good. You're deciding what to do when Carol surprises you by hopping off her stool and marching over to Jack's table. She closes the distance in the blink of an eye, her rye and ginger firmly in her hand. Jack sees her and tries to recover from his clumsy exit, a condescending grin across his flushed face. He opens his mouth to say something, but is interrupted by half a glass of alcohol and ginger ale hitting him full force in the face. Your eyes go wide, and you find yourself puffing out a surprised exclamation. Jack's table mates are all stunned into silence for a moment, and then begin laughing hysterically, a pack of hyenas without loyalty. What the fuck is your problem, Carol? Jack bellows, the indignation turning him red with rage. Almost the entire bar is turned towards the commotion by now, shocked into silence. The faded voice on the jukebox scores the scene in warbled tones. You're a real piece of shit, Jack, Carol says, not as an accusation, but as bullet point statement, like she's describing a color. Before Jack can think of a response, Carol comes storming back to the bar, and you know she's on her way out. Her temper only has two settings, 0 and extreme, and she doesn't cool down easily. Geez, Carol sounds just like me. Dang, Ben. She frantically pulls out a bill and some change to cover her drink. Carol looks at you as she slams the money down on the bar counter, her face softening for a moment by way of apology. Nothing ever changes, she says to you, her jaws tight. You can only smile feebly and watch her furiously pull the front door open as she leaves. As your customers return to their drinks, you see that Jenny has already made Jack's table settle down and pay their bill. Jack leaves without saying anything else, a mix of searing anger and humiliation cutting a reluctant swath of sobriety into his brain. The hyenas follow behind him like mourners in a funeral procession. Once they're gone, you notice the remnants of Carol's drink on the floor, and you grab your mop again. And there you can see it's well past 3 in the morning, and you're still tidying up at the bar after closing time. You sent Jenny home and stuck around after the kitchen staff left, preferring the quiet time after a busy and dramatic day. You're so used to late nights closing up that it doesn't occur to you to be surprised when the phone on the wall rings. Sam's, you say instinctively. The man himself, a voice purrs on the other line. It sounds like smoked caramel. You relax immediately and lean against the back counter, phone cord dangling almost down to the floor. Hey, you reply, feeling disarmed. You still haven't left yet, the voice says. I thought you were going to let Jenny close up more often. Diane, you begin somewhat irritably, but you stop yourself and take a deep breath. I know I did. I will. I just didn't feel like going home yet. Diane's voice comes back through the receiver, warm and soothing. Okay, honey, I was just worried, that's all. Roads are still bad at night. I know, you say. Well, I was just calling because I couldn't get a hold of you at home. We're still on for breakfast, right? Of course, you say, the tension gone. As long as you're okay with a late breakfast, I'll see you at 10. Good night, Sam, Diane says, the resonant click of the receiver, like a smile you can't see. The next morning, a gray, even light casts soft shadows across the bedroom wall of your house. You rub sleep from your eyes and scratch your beard, which feels more and more like the coarse coat of an old dog. You get dressed, but feel as if you're watching someone else do it. You're still tired from the late night, and for a moment you wonder, how long can I keep doing this? 20 years of running that bar, seeing the people in town drift in and out. There are nights when it feels like the first day, the first week, and you remember why you opened the bar at all. And then there are nights like last night where you look forward to retirement. How many more years? 5, 10? Somehow it seems both entirely too close and too far away at the same time. You look at your watch. It's still only 8:30 a.m. Plenty of time before you meet Diane, but you're restless. You don't want to be cooped up at home, and you can't help but think about what Jack was blurting out at the bar last night. His boasts about Grace got to you almost as much as they did to Carol. She was the town's sweetheart, the pride of Bruce Bay, but after the accident, well, the mood of town soured. The town mood soured, I would say, is what was meant to be put there. Got meaner. After several minutes, you realize you're just standing there, mulling things over. So you grab your jacket, and your mind returns to Jack. What's the big deal with the water tower? Jack wouldn't let it go, and it clearly bothered Carol. Plenty of time before you meet Diane. What should you do? Should you wait to meet Diane, or should you head out early to check out the water tower? Now, I voted for check out the water tower, and you can see that because if I click it, it takes a vote away. So I voted for check out the water tower, and he added that chapter. All right, here we go. We're going to our truck. You've made up your mind. You'll satisfy your curiosity and take a quick detour to the water tower. You push open the screen door of your house, and it bounces closed behind you as you step down to the driveway. You notice your boots are crunching against yet another fresh snowfall, and you breathe in brisk country air. When will this winter end? It's like the weather refuses to move on. Everyone in town is grumbling for spring, but it hasn't arrived yet. You open the truck's door, which cracks and groans like an old dog getting up after a long nap. You let out an involuntary grunt as you step up and into the cab of the truck. Some days you wonder which creaks more, the truck or you. Jack's boasts from the night before still ring in your ears as you turn the key and hear the engine turn over. What are you going to find at this damned water tower? The town's quiet, as usual. This early on a Saturday, traffic is light, and only the older folks are up running errands. You tend to recognize vehicles more than people since everybody drives here in the pharmacy parking lot. You see Dave Sartain's red Jeep there at the newspaper office. You spot the aquamarine hatchback of its young new editor-in-chief, Vanessa. Instead of turning a sharp left at the town's only traffic light, which would be the quickest way to the water tower, you head straight and continue on past a few more intersections. Jack lives in a house not far from here, and a lot he probably hasn't tidied up all winter. You realize you're on the lookout to make sure you're not going to run into him. Idiot's still sleeping off his beer, you catch yourself muttering as you check the clock on the dash. It's not even 10 to 9. You doubt he'll be up before noon. At the 3rd Street, you turn the truck a lazy left past more quiet houses and a thickening line of trees. The gentle curve of the road brings you back in a soft J and directly beside the water tower. Spotting your destination through the windshield, you roll the truck to a satisfying stop and park it on the side of the street. With another grunt that almost makes you laugh, you exit. Bruce Bay's water tower is unusual, situated as it is on a rolling hill about 20 feet up. Back when it was built, the town was configured differently. Its roads maximized for the transport of lumber from the forest and goods from the town's 2 rivers, a stubborn legacy of long ago trading. Decades ago, after a serious fire ravaged most of downtown, it was reset to then modern standards. New roads were built to encourage a local community. Instead of just the passing of materials to other places, it was changed from a work site to a real town. The water tower was a relic from the town's previous incarnation, and is probably less useful now in its intended purpose than it was originally, but there it stands, now little more than a... I don't actually know that word. Than a skeuomorph of old safety protocols, a creaking wooden sentinel by which one can mark the horizon. You look around briefly to make sure no one sees you, but the street you're on is empty. With a crack in your joints, you begin your ascent. The new snow gives the hill a pleasant, soft appearance, but you use caution, knowing that it could also hide ice or hidden pits. I'm going to let you guys look at this picture for just 1 second while I take a drink of water. Excuse me, that is an old water tower. You crest the hill, huffing far more than you remember doing the last time you were up here, but when was that anyway? 2 years? Probably not, since you were part of a volunteer fire department drill. The water tower looms before you. Its reservoir is a large cylinder ringed with red-painted wooden slats that almost look like shingles, faded and peeling. It's propped up over 10 feet high by several thick concrete struts and a meaty-looking central column which creates an oddly sinister shadow underneath, even in the morning light. Even from a dozen feet away, you can see the discarded evidence of years' worth of teenage parties. Overturned milk crates, half-buried bottles, soggy remnants of cigarette wrappers have been kneaded into the dirt under the tower by foot traffic and time. You can see poorly rendered graffiti here and there on the concrete central column and wonder if even some of your own classmates left their mark on there back in your day. Before you approach, you take in the sight behind you, surveying the town. It's beautiful up here, the natural valley around you creating a soft, oblong spoon of land through which trees and rivers appear to run wild. You know as well as most, though, how the landscape has changed because of forestry and that old fire. From up here, at least, it all seems peaceful. It all makes sense. Suddenly, you hear the crack of broken branches off to your side, within a wall of pine trees, and you jump a foot in the air. Your heart pounding, you find yourself racing towards the water tower, head down low, and you can't explain why. Just a sudden, intense feeling of danger and a primal need to hide. You slam into one of the tower's round struts and put it between you and where you think the sound came from. The air seems colder than it had a moment ago, and you can't help but shiver as you peer into the trees, waiting for what? To see something? To hear something? All you can sense is the soft pulsing of cool wind and your own heartbeat in your ears. Just as your heart starts to slow down and your body is cooling again, you hear another sound, weak and thin on the cool morning wind, and it chills you to the bone. Help me. It's early morning, the gray sky bright now with the backglow of the sun, and you've never been more scared in your life. Was that really a voice? Through your heavy flannel jacket and your shirt, you feel a single icy bead of sweat roll down your back. That's impossible. After what feels like minutes later, you realize you're holding your breath. What the hell is wrong with me? Another sound spits from beyond the trees, a grisly rustle followed by a metallic sucking of air, like someone is dragging a still-breathing lung across gravel. Your eyes are locked now, straight ahead, but you can't see anything in the bush, despite how bright it is now. The pines here have grown so thick and close, creating an unnatural darkness within them. You're holding your breath again, afraid to move. A dozen different thoughts shoot across your synapses simultaneously, rendered in your mind in a foggy, red typeface, as if your blood was pumping visible orders with every beat. Run! Don't move! This is crazy. Then the wind stops suddenly, as if the trees themselves are holding their breath. It brings a terrible moment of quiet up on the hill, amplifying the pounding in your ears. Then your foot shifts involuntarily. The soft squeak makes in the dirt a sharp pronunciation in the dead silence. Before you know it, you're stepping towards the trees. What the hell am I doing? You think, but your body is moving despite your protest. 1 step, 2, 4, 8. Your faded tan boots leave pancake-shaped holes in the snow, and you realize you're rushing the tree line. A scream wells up inside your throat, guttural and raw, but it never makes it out. You slam against a trunk the diameter of a truck tire, your heart a constant din now. You whip your head back and forth as you desperately search for the source of the sound, moving from tree to tree in a frantic shuffle, eyes wild and stinging with panicked sweat. Your heart thumps a manic crescendo, shooting out pain in a rapid series of waves. Your eyes screw themselves tight against the stars that now obscure your vision, and as an unseen fist clenches itself inside your ribcage, you fall to one knee. This is it, you think. This is it. And for some stupid reason, at that precise moment, you remember a warm, sunny day when you were 14, playing in the water on the edge of Sandy Lake with 3 other boys. It was a perfect memory, and now it flashes against the inside of your eyelids like the beam of a classroom projector. The fist loosens, and you feel an awful cold in your chest, like you're filling with clammy fluid. Gradually, your heart slows, erratic, but still intact, you think. Sweat is dripping from your brow and your head, bowed from the pain in some cruel genuflection, swims with a sudden lack of oxygen. You look up to see something in the trees, something you can't describe, but you know shouldn't be there, and then in one sudden motion, you pass out. You awake with a start and find yourself curled up on your side beside the tree line, your face cool with snow. You look up and the sky looks the same light, same color. So you figure you haven't been out for more than a few minutes. You move slowly and are grateful to feel whole and connected, though your left arm is weak and tingling. As you prop yourself up to stand, your head swims again and your chest washes over with a curious warmth. You brace yourself for something worse, wincing, but when the feeling ebbs away, you move again. Minutes later, you're propped up against the strut of the water tower again. You're weak, drained, and exhausted. But somehow the fear is gone. What happened only minutes before seems distant, a story told to you by someone else. Slowly, you sense a creeping chill that's beginning to pass over your sweat-soaked body, and are grateful for the sensation. Then you spot something. Under the water tower's reservoir near its central base, a patch of dirt and dried leaves from last fall creates a curious landmark. It looks fresher than the various bits of junk scattered everywhere else, perhaps newly disturbed. You stand up straighter, still weak but slowly regaining some vigor, and you wonder if this has anything to do with Jack. Maybe you're wasting your time. Shouldn't you meet Diane? Hell, you think, shouldn't I go to the hospital? But that spot on the ground bothers you, and you can't stop looking at it. It pulls at you, like the sound from the trees did. You manage a step on shaky legs towards the darkness under the water tower, but a startling sound rips up and over the hill like a shockwave, freezing you in place, a gruesome impact of meat and bone being crushed against metal. You can barely think and your heart is pounding again. Bleats of car horns and squealing tires and shouts from down below the hill sound again and again, echoing in your ears, getting louder, and you know something terrible has happened. What should you do? Should you discover what's on the ground or leave the hill to find out what's going on? Now, I voted for go down the hill, but I'm losing the vote. So it looks like we're probably going to be looking at the ground. And yeah, voting ended. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be looking at the ground. And the story should continue this week, I believe. So today's March 24th. And I think they mentioned on the Discord that it'll continue this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the prequel story. When they finish the prequel story, I will put up another video, assuming that Benjamin approves this video. So yeah, I hope you're excited for Worse Than Death. And if the prequel story has excited you a little bit, come join the Discord. Follow Benjamin Rivers on Twitter. Follow him on YouTube. He also streams on Twitch sometimes. He does the drawings for this story and game art and stuff. He does that on Twitch sometimes. And, of course, watch the trailer for Worse Than Death because it's amazing. It's amazing looking, and I'm sure you guys will love it. So anyway, if you like that, tell the like button you want to smash. And don't forget to subscribe. You stay you, I'll stay me, Droogie forever. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Later.